mode. Greetings and welcome to the webinar brought to you by the University of Minnesota Alumni Association. My name is Erin Elliott and I'm the Senior Director of Campus Engagement at the University of Minnesota Alumni Association. Thank you to all alumni and friends who have made time to join us live today. We're glad you joined us today for the webinar, Get the Most Out of Your Insurance, with U of M alumnus Joe Peterson. Today's webinar is part of a free series being offered by the University of Minnesota Alumni Association, where we're having conversations with experts about career, life, and learning topics. We'll be running monthly webinars from now until May. This webinar is being recorded and it will be viewable afterwards at minnesotaalumni.org/alumni webinar series. Just give us a few business days to post it on our website. If you're on Twitter right now, tweet us with the hashtag UMNwebinar. We'd love to hear from you. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. If you've joined the presentation listening using your computer speaker system by default. If you would prefer to listen over the telephone, just select telephone in the audio pane of your GoToWebinar panel, and dial-in information will be displayed for you. If you experience any audio difficulties while listening via your computer speakers, this can be caused by having multiple software applications open, which can use up some of your computer's bandwidth and affect your network performance. Please feel free to close any unnecessary applications on your computer. Questions are welcome, and you may submit them at any time. Please type your questions in the questions pane of your GoToWebinar control panel. We'll be monitoring them along the way, so please submit your questions, ideas, or tips. It's going to be a fun conversation, and we definitely want to hear from you. This webinar from Liberty Mutual gives you everything you need to know about auto, renters, and home insurance. Using common accident scenarios, this interactive webinar presents the information in a way that's easy to follow and understand. Auto insurance topics include deductibles, declaration pages, various coverage options, and policy limits. Home insurance topics include dwelling coverage, the replacement cost of your home, and how to protect your personal belongings. Now I'm very excited to introduce our presenter, Joe Peterson. Joe graduated from the University of Minnesota in 2004, where he received a degree in economics. He has spent the past 7 years providing peace of mind to clients all over Minnesota and Wisconsin by helping them protect the things that mean the most. He brings a wealth of experience and knowledge to the University of Minnesota Auto and Home Insurance Benefit Program through Liberty Mutual Insurance. So we are very excited to welcome Joe. Hi, Joe.
Hey, how are you?
Great. I'm just going to give you your slide deck here, and we should be all set.
Fantastic. So,
Great.
Well, all right. Well, thanks everybody for joining in. I appreciate that. I'm going to make the most out of what some can conceive as somewhat of a boring subject, insurance, but I love what I do, so I'll try to make it fun for you guys. Again, my name is Joe Peterson. I've been doing insurance for a while. We're going to talk about auto and home, kind of do a auto and home 101 type of deal for everyone, just make it nice and easy for you. So we're going to do an introductory to auto insurance. We're going to understand our declaration page and the core coverages, and that's going to be your liability, collision, and other than collision, also known as comprehensive coverage. We're going to explore additional optional coverages, of course, Liberty Mutual discounts, and we're going to take a look at the benefits of coverage with Liberty Mutual. We shouldn't take too long on the auto subject. Figure 15 to 20 minutes, but let's see what we can do. So with auto insurance, how does your coverage differ between collision and having a tree fall in your car? What is the difference between the two? Are damages to your car from a flood, fire, or hail storm covered? A couple of things here. Everyone knows that they need auto insurance, but choosing the right coverage can be pretty confusing. There aren't a lot of moving parts with auto insurance, but you can still get confused pretty quickly. The best way to determine what coverage is right for you is to understand what types of coverage are available for you. Are you covered in a car accident if you're at fault and someone gets seriously injured? These are things that we all need to know. The declaration page is you can kind of figure your heart and soul of your policy. It tells you everything and anything, especially the important parts of your policy. It's going to tell you the vehicles that are covered, what you pay, how much of each types of coverage you have. A lot of people look at this page and they don't really know what they're looking at, or they think they do and they're unsure. And we'll go into a little bit more deeper discussion on these items here moving forward here. But the thing with the declaration page is the best way to see who is on your policy. There are a few things that I've noticed, and that is people that are not on the actual policy as drivers. They're on there as insured, and that can be an issue if you have any kids or anything like that. And you definitely want to make sure that everyone in your household is insured. It outlines any of the information on your policy in a very concise and readable way so that you can determine what is actually right for you guys and if you're overinsured, underinsured, and again, we'll talk more about that coming up. And then the main point here is it's a nice easy way as to what you're paying and what you're paying for. The main coverages, let's see, did that work? There it goes. The main coverages in your policy are going to be your liability, your collision, and your other than collision, which of course is comprehensive. Collision is what pays if you are in an accident. It takes care of your vehicle in an accident. The other than collision is things that are not caused by an accident, such as theft, vandalism, fire, hail, oddly enough hitting an animal or a deer. And liability covers injuries and damages caused to you, sorry, that you cause to another person or their property. I'm going to do a quick test of your knowledge here. If the computer will let me. Do I have to hit it again? There it is. What does liability coverage pay for? I'm going to give you guys a second here to take a look at that. Which portion does your liability coverage pay for? All right. I'm going to hit it again. There we go. So if your liability will pay for the damage to properties of others or injury to passengers in another car if you cause the crash. If your car is stolen, that's a different part of your policy. If a tree falls on it, that's a different part of your policy. And a crash, of course, is collision. So there you go. Let's see if I can. There we go. Now I said that we would talk more about the limits of a policy. And if you look at this slide, this might or might not be what you currently have for your coverage. I'll just say personally, this is what I recommend for most people. Not every single person is going to warrant this, but this is absolutely what I recommend for most people that are driving on the road today. But if we look at the policy, there's bodily injury and property damage, and you see the numbers there, 250,000, 500,000, and 100,000. What those numbers mean, the first number is per person in an accident. That's the 250. The 500,000 is per accident, and property damage is that last 100,000 there. So what that means is this. If you're in an accident and it's just you, you can get up to $250,000. If you're in an accident and it's 3 people, not everyone will get $250,000. It'll be a maximum of $500,000 for that accident. And of course, property damage is any damage that you cause to property, which can be vehicles or otherwise, up to $100,000. The one thing on here that I really like in Minnesota here is our uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. What that means is very simple, and this is a big reason why I put it at 250, 500, 250,000, 500,000. If you're driving down the road, and unfortunately right now in Minnesota, 2 out of 3 people do not have adequate coverage. But if you're driving down the road and someone hits you and they don't have enough insurance, which would be underinsured, or they don't have any insurance, which would be uninsured, your policy will then kick in after their policy pays or lack thereof, which is a very big deal. If you've ever been in an accident, you know how quickly those prices jump up. When you are choosing a bodily injury limit, it's best to consult with someone who you trust and see what exactly would be the right fit for you. Is 250 too much or not enough? Would you be better served at 500,000 throughout? Would you be better served with 250, 500 in an umbrella? I mean, these are things that we'll go over here a little bit too. You just want to make sure that whatever coverage you do choose, you don't want to put other things at risk, meaning it's not always best to get the cheapest price out there. Minnesota, we have a state minimum, it's 30,000, 60,000, but if you ever need that policy, it's going to be very difficult to pay for anything. I've actually seen that quite a few times. If someone comes to me and they have 30,000, 60,000, a very quick reference point is my brother who was in an accident, and 30,000 wouldn't have even gotten him to the hospital. So something to think about there, guys. So when we look at the policy a little more depth, we look at collision. Collision is, again, if you hit somebody. When you hit somebody, we're always, whether you have full coverage or not, we're always going to take care of the other party. The collision is what takes care of you. So if you have a nice new car, you're definitely going to want collision. Or if you have a nice old car too, I would want the collision, to be honest with you. When you look at collision, you have one thing that you have to worry about, and that's your deductible. Whatever deductible is comfortable for you is the deductible you should choose. Just because everyone has 500 or everyone has 250 is not the deductible you need. Personally, I do have 250 deductible on collision and comprehensive or not, yeah. The reason why I do that is because if something happens, I don't want to come out of pocket that much. I know a lot of customers of mine that have $1,000 deductible because they don't want to claim anything under $1,000. So what your deductible means is very simple. That's the amount of money that you're going to take care of before we or any insurance company takes over. So you have the first 500, we take care of the rest, kind of a thing. There also is a waiver deductible. Really what the waiver deductible is over time it goes away. I can't remember what ours is called. Deductible fund. Where you pay a little bit each time your deductible drops each year until you have no deductible, so that when something does happen, you don't have to pay anything. We're going to test your knowledge again here. What does other than collision coverage pay for, also known as comprehensive? If you guys want to take a peek at that, I'll give you a couple of seconds to look at it. Okay, now if you were listening to me a little bit ago, you'd know there's every single one of those. A lot of people don't realize that if you hit a deer or an animal in general, that your comprehensive coverage or your other than collision coverage kicks in. I do because I've hit a few deer in my life, unfortunately. Car is vandalized, that's comprehensive. It's stolen, that's comprehensive. Another thing we can throw in here is hail, or a lot of people reference acts of God. That's a good way to understand what is covered under comprehensive. Basically, if you don't hit something, hopefully we got you squared away on the comprehensive portion. Which leads me to other than collision or comprehensive coverage. Same rules apply here. You want to make sure that the deductible that you choose is right for you. This is the portion that takes care of if a tree limb falls on your car, fire, flood, vandalism, if it's stolen. These are all the one-off, the strange things that happen. They don't happen to everybody. Well, when they do, you want to make sure that you're covered for it. This is also the portion that brings in the glass coverage. Some of us have glass coverage at a small deductible. What I generally recommend is that you have your deductible for all your claims, and if a glass claim were to happen, you have zero deductible on that. That's 99.99% of the policies I have zero glass on them, meaning you don't pay a penny for your windshield if you get a chip or crack. Let's see here. A couple things about the comprehensive and collision really is you're going to want to make sure that it's feasible, it's monetarily makes sense for you guys. If you have a 1987 rust bucket, it might not be the smartest thing in the world to have comp and collision on it. And these are things that I talk about with my customers. Like, You know, we might be saving a little bit of money, but it makes more sense financially if you do have the coverage because you're out of vehicle or something like that. I also want to make sure that people know that you can ask questions throughout the webinar here. So if I'm saying something that doesn't make sense, or if I'm rambling on, which happens, or there's just something that is not quite, connecting the dots for you, please ask a question. I'll be sure to answer them when we get there. The collision again, or the other than collision, sorry. One thing that I do recommend with this, and to each their own, but personally it doesn't cost that much money to drop deductible on collision, on the comprehensive. It costs more to drop it on collision than it does comprehensive. You could take a $500 deductible, turn it to a $250 deductible, and maybe only pay $10 to $15 more a year, depending on your situation. The reason why I like a low comprehensive deductible is because these are things I can't really control. If a deer pops out in front of me, I mean, sometimes you can, you can get out of the way, sometimes you can't. A tree limb falls on your car. I mean, yeah, I shouldn't have parked there, maybe. These are the strange, the one-off things. Someone steals your car. I mean, really, that's not really your fault. I want to pay more for something if I had absolutely no control over it. So I try to get that low as much as possible. I hope that makes sense to you guys. There's other coverages on your policy. Personal injury protection, commonly referred to as PIP. That is for medical expenses that would be incurred by you and anyone in your vehicle from injuries suffered in some type of a car accident, regardless of fault, up to the limit of your purchase. I'm going to camp out here for just a second. In Minnesota, everyone has heard that it's a no-fault state. What that means is this is the only portion of that that is no fault. Personal injury protection. It does not matter whose fault it is. Your own policy will pay for your up to, the common is $20,000 medical and $20,000 work loss. It doesn't matter if it's your fault or the other person's fault, your policy pays for it. This is the only part of the policy that is that way. If you hit someone and it's your fault, it is your fault, okay? Your policy will take care of the collision and all that kind of aspect, but as far as the no-fault state is concerned, personal injury protection is the only thing that applies. Uninsured motorist coverage, underinsured motorist coverage. I kind of talked about that before. Again, in Minnesota, 2 out of 3 people are uninsured or not underinsured, don't have the adequate coverage. This is something that I try to make sure people can understand that they have with us. We got to protect ourselves from the crazies out there, so this is part of that. Let's see. Oh, the property, yeah, Wisconsin, sorry. Anyone out there that is Wisconsin, the uninsured motorist property damage would actually take care of that damage to the vehicle or the property caused by someone who's uninsured or underinsured. So that's kind of a cool little feature for Wisconsin. Sorry about that, I forgot about that. And to clarify, I am licensed in Minnesota, Wisconsin, North and South Dakota, and Arizona. So if some of these things you don't think apply to you, believe me, they do. No, I'm just kidding. Some optional coverages that we have: 24/7 roadside assistance, rental car reimbursement. These are pretty self-explanatory. These are optional things. I recommend always having them unless you have a different way of doing the same thing. 24/7 roadside assistance is pretty obvious. They'll come and will tell you where you need to go. If you need a tank of gas, we'll throw a gallon of gas in there. We'll fix your tire, whatever it takes. We'll tow you somewhere so you can keep going. Very common limits on that are maybe $50 per visit or disablement, or $100 or $200, something like that. And you'll be able to see that in your policy. Rental car reimbursement is if you were in an accident and the only car you had was what you were driving during the accident, you need another car. Rental car reimbursement will pay for you to get a rental car for blank amount per day up to blank amount. Could be $30 a day up to $900. Could be $45 a day up to $1,500. If you have that, you'll have to check your policy to see what your limits actually are there. Now, let's talk about discounts available through Liberty Mutual. There's a couple in here that you won't understand because they're not offered anywhere else. There's a few in here that are offered everywhere. Multi-policy discount. Pretty standard. If you have more than one policy with us, you get additional savings. Vehicle safety features discount. If you have a safe vehicle that has anti-lock brakes, has adaptive cruise control, if it has the light on the rear view mirror if you're getting close to a car or someone's coming up on your blind side, these are different safety features that we want here. Oh, we have a question here. Hold on 1 second. What is the typical coverage of a insured driver? Is that fall plow in a rental car? I didn't get extra insurance in the rental car. So it's interesting. So you'll have your insurance in the rental car, even if you do not get their insurance. What they can come back and get you for is actually lost income while they're working on your vehicle that you got into an accident with. Meaning they don't have that car on their lot rented out for 4 days, they can come after you for a 4-day rental. Different companies have agreements with other, different insurance companies have agreements with rental car places where that can be waived. You'll have to contact and discuss that with your insurance carrier to find out. And I hope that I answered that correctly. Is that how you guys took it? Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Where was I? Exclusive group savings. So this is pretty cool. Liberty Mutual is one of the only companies out there that just because you, well, let's just say just because you're an alumni of the University of Minnesota, you get up to 10% off of your auto and home insurance. You'll still get all the other discounts, but this is definitely one that you'll get just because you're an alumni here. Or maybe you work at a certain company, you get a 10% discount across the board. The nice thing is we have these discounts for numerous different places. It could be where you work, it could be a credit union, it could be a lot of things. Obviously, the one I'm going to hit on pretty hard is the University of Minnesota Alumni Association, because you are all University of Minnesota alumni. So every single person most likely on this phone call will qualify for something like that. Multi-car discount. If you have multiple vehicles on the same policy, which we do quite often. Let's see here. Which we do quite often. You get a discount. You get a discount through your policy just because you have multiple vehicles on the same policy.
Very good question about that.
What's that?
Can you read the question aloud?
Oh, the question. I'm sorry. Yes. So the question is, if you have really good health insurance, is there any reason not to skimp on the medical coverage through your car insurance? Well, personally, the medical portion of your car insurance, let's see here.
Most health insurance providers have exclusions.
Yeah. I mean, most health insurance providers would have exclusions for things like that. So I'm trying to read it. Is there any reason not to skimp on the medical coverage? I really would never skimp on the medical coverage on car insurance because that's your first line of defense. And you want to have a good first line of defense when you get into any type of accident. Another question popped up. When other than a listed on the policy driver is driving the auto, are they covered? Great question. Love that question. So in Minnesota, coverage follows the vehicle. So if I were to lend out my vehicle to my neighbor and they get into an accident, my coverage takes precedence because I am the one covering the vehicles. Now, if they get a speeding ticket, of course they'll still get the speeding ticket. But if they get into some type of accident or infraction with the vehicle itself, my policy is the one that would take precedence. So these are great questions. But I'm going to keep cruising here because I don't want to take up too much of your time. I can easily do that with insurance. So. Let's see, preferred payment method discounts. We all know this one. If you pay, certain companies, if you pay once a year or once every 6 months, it's cheaper than if you pay once a month, things like that. Liberty Mutual doesn't do that to you. Whether you pay once a year, once every 6 months, or once a month, it's the same price at the end of the year. if you do it through the electronic payment monthly or any way you want to go. Hybrid vehicle discount. Preserving the environment obviously is very important, so we do offer special savings to customers who do use and insure hybrid vehicles. There's also other things on there, of course, teen discount, teen driver discount, good student discount, things like that. They're going to make a lot more sense to those of us that have children that are driving and making our insurance rates crazy. Okay, so it looks like we do have another question. Hold on.
What did you mean with the exclusion?
Nope, not that one. Your employer provided health insurance. What?
What do you mean with the exclusion? The other question. Yeah, just this one.
Oh, sorry. What does you mean with the exclusions for medical coverage? Does that mean health insurance won't cover if the reason you're in the hospital is covered? No. I'm saying that your policy has certain limits, and up to those limits, once you exceed those limits, your major medical will then kick in after the fact.
No. A lot of times your employer health insurance policy will not cover if you're in an auto accident first.
Yeah, no, yeah. And what I mean by that is the first line of defense, meaning if you're in an auto accident, your major medical will always defer to your auto. So you're in an auto accident, you have $100,000, $300,000 coverage. You're in an accident, you have up to that amount to cover. Over that, once you hit your limit there, then your major medical will kick in. And believe me when I tell you, they will wait until that is all taken up before they want to pay a penny for it. And I can't blame them, because, I mean, that's why we have insurance that way. You're very welcome. Let's see here. All right, so let's move forward. Some coverage benefits with Liberty Mutual. Of course, you have local licensed sales and service rep. That's me. I am your local guy here. I'm just kidding. There's a few of us, but of course, I would always love to be your local guy. Minnesota has a ton of different competition out there, but of course, there's always one thing that I love to tell people is whoever you go with, make sure that you trust them. Make sure it's someone that you know will take care of you. And I like to say that I'm one of those guys. So, accident forgiveness with Liberty Mutual specifically, and not everyone is this way. With Liberty Mutual specifically, if you don't have an accident on your record within the last 5 years, you automatically get accident forgiveness, which is pretty cool. Other companies, you have to be with them for a certain amount of time. With us, as long as you haven't had it for the last 5 years, you're good to go. 24/7 claims assistance. We do have people on the phone at all times if you are ever in need of assistance. Personally, my customers have my cell phone, so they generally just end up calling me, and I take care of them if they're in an accident at 10:30 or 2 in the morning or whatever, just to make sure that we get the claims process moving accurately and moving forward quickly. Lifetime repair guarantee. This is pretty nice. So if you have a lifetime repair guarantee, when you fix your car, we have these approved shops where we will make the arrangements for the vehicle to get fixed, and we have a lifetime guarantee on the work, which is phenomenal. New car replacement, and I'm going to add in here new car replacement and better car replacement. So new car replacement is strictly for new vehicles. We will, it's a standard feature on all of our policies, where if your car is totaled in the first year, you'll get the money for a brand new car, not just what the depreciated value was the second you drove off the lot. Better car replacement is for older vehicles, where if you have a 2008 with 100,000 miles, if you have better car replacement and you total out your vehicle, we will give you money for a 2009 with 85,000 miles. So it's just a way to get more money for the same vehicle, because we all know how depreciation on autos is pretty rapid. Now, new car replacement, of course, I will throw this out there, it's not available in North Carolina or Wyoming. And the nice thing about Liberty Mutual Auto is it is a 12-month rate lock. It's not a 6-month lock, so Your policy is good for 12 months. It will not renew in 12, or it will not renew in every 6 months. It does it once a year. So I'm going to stop right there real quick. Any more questions on auto before I move forward? For now, I'll take that as a we're good to go, Joe. Let's hear some home insurance. All right. So with home insurance, we're going to do, again, an intro to home insurance. The core coverages, which is the dwelling or your home, other structures, personal property, etc. Explore additional optional coverages that are offered with Liberty Mutual and other companies. Liberty Mutual specific discounts. Review benefits of coverage with Liberty Mutual. All right. If you're like most people, the home that you live in or the home that you purchase is the biggest purchase that you make. There's not a lot of $100,000 plus purchases that I make on a daily basis, but I live in one, and I want to protect it accurately. The one thing I like to say here, and I want people to think about this honestly, think about your house, think about your home coverage. How many sitting on the line right now can tell me that 100% guarantee that if they had a fire right now, they will get the same house they live in with the property that they have in it? Without question. How many can say that? And there's a few that can. In person, I like to say that my customers know that because I do keep them informed and I make sure that the coverage they have is accurate. It's not overinsured, it's not underinsured. It's insured where it needs to be. Will your coverage pay to repair your house? What about the stuff inside the house, just like I said? Are there damaged structures on your property covered, like a shed, pool, fence? If they are covered, do you know where, how, or what your deductible is? If you need to stay somewhere else while things are being repaired, do you have to pay for that? Does the insurance company pay for that? These are things we'll go through here in just a second. Chances are you probably don't read your home policy too often. And I don't blame you because that's the quickest way to fall asleep. If we go to the next page here, there's there's more than three, but these are the three main ones here. You have home insurance, you have condo or townhome insurance, and you have tenants or renters insurance. Obviously, the homeowner's insurance is going to cover the dwelling, the home, because you have to. That's the point of that, having that policy. Other structures, or also known as detached structures, things that are not attached, sheds, barns, gazebos. Personal property, loss of use, meaning, you lost the use of your home. You had a fire, you can't live there anymore until it's fixed, you got to live somewhere else. That's the part that covers that. The liability, someone walks across your yard, puts their foot through a rake, comes after you, that's what covers that. Medical payments, very small amount of medical payment that would be taken care of for small things. Condo insurance, everything except for the other structures. And it's to a point, meaning on a townhome you don't have to take care of the siding or the shingles. A lot of times it's either a walls in or a 2x4s in or some type of variation of that where you take care of the inside of the house because there's no reason for you to take care of the outside. Everything else is also the same. In tenants, you don't have to worry about, or tenants or renters insurance. You don't have to worry about the home, and you don't have to worry about other structures. You just take care of your things on the inside. The personal property, loss of use if you can't live there, liability if someone gets hurt inside your apartment, and medical payments for the same reasons. So the declaration page on a homeowner policy looks scary. There's a lot of stuff on there. A lot of numbers, a lot of words, a lot of coverage A, B, C, D, E, F. What does all this stuff mean? So coverage A is your home. Coverage B are things that are not attached to your home. It could even be your garage if you don't have an attached garage. Coverage C is personal property. These are all your things, your personal items. If you took the roof off a house, took it, shook it upside down, everything falling out, that's your personal property. Coverage D is loss of use, loss of your home, the use of your home. Coverage E is liability. And coverage F is medical payments. One thing that's interesting, most people don't know this. Coverage A is what it costs, what you would think that it costs to rebuild your home. 10% of that number is coverage B. 75% of that number, generally speaking, is coverage C. So when people are telling me what they have for insurance, a lot of times I look at the home and I already know what the other numbers are going to be. There are other things on here, but we'll go over there. We'll go over this in just a minute. Oh, I have a question. So the question I have is, if you don't have any other unattached structures, would it make sense that coverage for other structures be 0? You know, in my personal opinion, no. You can always bring the coverage down. Let's say you have a $450,000 house. Do you really need $45,000 in other coverage? No. But when you're thinking about what it costs to have that coverage, it's very minimal. So even if you were to take that down quite a bit, you might be saving $10, $15 a year. It's not enough to really worry about. However, the adverse is true. So say you have a pole barn and a shed and a detached garage and a this and a that. You definitely want to make sure that you have the coverage in that specific spot to pay for all these other things. That's a lot more common kind of where I grew up. I grew up in northern Minnesota where everyone had a pole barn, everyone had a shed. Not everyone had an attached garage. So I can almost guarantee, unless they had a good agent, that the coverage B was lacking in pretty much every policy. But that's a great question. Another question just popped up. What could it possibly be covering then? Why have any coverage if there's no shed? Great. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Really, it would be there to, if you ever do get a shed, if you ever do put in a pool, get a fence, these are things that aren't attached, maybe throw in a gazebo. You don't have to call your insurance agent and tell them. Again, it's not a real monetary savings to drop it down a ton, but I would ask, maybe give your insurance agent a call and see what they recommend. See what it would cost to bring that down to either nothing or 5,000 or 1,000 or something. My personal opinion is I don't like zeros on a policy because what if? Let's see here. There's another question, but I'm going to come back to that question, Marcia, in just a second. So there's another question, but we're going to go over that in a separate thing. So I'll come back to that here in just a minute. The declaration page. The thing that you want to know is it's just like your keep that on there. So it's just like your auto, where it's going to show you what you have covered and how much it costs to cover those things. How much dwelling coverage do you need? How much home do you need? Before I ask that, let me ask you, which doesn't determine your dwelling coverage or your home coverage? Is it the type of house you have, the materials used to build it, size of your lot, whether your house has a fireplace? So I'll give you just a second. All right. Why isn't it? There it goes. The size of your lot that your house sits in, it does not matter because we're not insuring the dirt. We insure your house, we insure the siding, we insure the windows, we insure the concrete, we insure a lot of things, but not the dirt. So another thing with that is a lot of people see the house that they see what the dwelling coverage is, say it's at $250, but they bought the house for $300. How could this be? Because when you're buying a house, you're buying different things. You're buying location to schools. You're buying school districts maybe. You're buying, it's on the water. It's close to my family. All these things that make up the price, where when you're building, it's 2x4s, labor, material, that's it. Personally, I just built a home and it was a little much less to build my home than it was to insure it. I'm sorry, not to insure it. I'm losing it. than it would be to sell it. That's what I meant to say. Let's see here. Why did that come up twice? There we go. How do you cover your home? So again, the dwelling is the coverage that applies to your house. This is what it costs to build your home. Coverage B, and I guess I kind of got ahead of myself here by explaining things before, but coverage B is going to be 10% of that, and that's things that are not attached. So I can do another test. Okay. Which items are insured with personal property coverage? So I'm going to let you guys check that out here. I'll be right back. All right. Oh, hold on. There we go. What items are insured with personal property coverage? If you guess anything with the word personal items in front of it, you were correct. Personal items in the home, personal items in the vehicle, personal items anywhere in the world. That one's pretty easy. A good rule of thumb is if you have homeowners insurance and you have personal items with you anywhere, you're covered. We have another question here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go back to the other one. So there was one question. What? Yeah. So there's one question that said, is a well considered other structure? The well itself would, I guess, if something happened to the well, yes, you are covered under your homeowner's policy. Just make sure that you have that coverage. It's not a separate item, but you just want to make sure that the policy that you have will step into place if something does happen to the well. Personally, I grew up with the well and a septic, so I understand what you're saying. But yes, is it considered an other structure? Depends on where it is. Mine was in my house, so it was part of the home. I know it's kind of weird, but that's how mine was. It was built in '64 when I was growing up, and that's what it was. A lot of things now are outside of the home, so it would be another structure. A question that just came in, what is actual replacement cost coverage? That is a good question, and we will be covering that here in just a second. So we'll get there, don't worry. Oh. What did I do here? There we go. Sorry, guys. Am I pressing the button? Yes, I am. There we go. Personal property. What is personal property? Again, if that's all your stuff. That's your watches, your suits, your clothes, your furniture. Again, if you take the roof off your house, you tip it upside down, you shake it out, that's your personal property. It's your personal possessions. A lot of people forget about clothing when they're talking about their personal property. Clothes are expensive. Shirts are like $50. Shoes are expensive. Well, my shoes aren't, but my wife's shoes are very expensive. I'm just kidding. These are different things that you want to take into account when you are talking about personal property. One thing, and I can't remember, I don't think this is moving forward, but one thing that I recommend to people is take a video log block of all of your stuff, your personal property. This is where you just take your phone, put it on video, walk around your house. This is my chair. I bought it at Home Furniture for $1,000. This is my TV. I bought it at Best Buy for this much. It's an LG, you know, whatever. That way you will always have a video recording of your personal items. Then take that video and email it to yourself, because you will always be able to pull up that email. Doesn't matter if your computer burns in a fire, you can go to your neighbors, pull up your email, boom, you have a copy of everything that you have. Loss of use. We did talk about this a little bit before, but loss of use is, so loss of use is If you have a fire, something like that, and you cannot live in your home while it's being either rebuilt or fixed, this portion of your policy will pay for you to live elsewhere and take care of all your necessary expenses, washing, enabling your family to maintain its normal standards of living. Let's see here. Okay, so there's a question here. What is actual replacement cost coverage again? We'll get there. And how are you supposed to estimate the worth of your personal property? Good question. So, and really what you're doing is you're not estimating the worth with that video. You're just getting a documentation of what you have. There's other people in my claims department that are absolutely amazing at what you have, what it costs, and what it's going to take to replace. I'm not that guy, but they absolutely are. And you'd be shocked at how quickly and how accurately that they'll be able to get that back to you. The fail-safe is always going to be whatever you buy, keep the receipt. I don't. Most people don't. But that will be exactly what you're talking about. And back to Bonnie, what is actual replacement cost coverage? That means, well, here, let me say it this way. There's two different types of coverage. It's replacement cost coverage. There's actual cash value. If you go and buy a TV for $1,000, 10 years down the road, it's worth $100. Replacement cost will give you $1,000 so that you can go get that TV again. Actual cash value gives you the actual cash value, which is $100. You want the replacement. The replacement is what I sell to everybody. I don't want anyone to have actual cash value on anything because I wouldn't want it for me. I don't want it for you guys. But that's a great question, Bonnie. Thank you. Gotta catch up here. Deductible. What is a deductible? Well, a deductible is what you will pay first before, in the event of any loss, before insurance steps in. Can be $500, as you see on the screen, $1,000, $2,500. It could be a percentage. The big thing here, guys, is whatever you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable at $1,000, be $1,000. If you're comfortable at $5,000, have $5,000. It's whatever you are comfortable with. It can't be too easy. What I always tell people is you don't want to make it too easy so you're making a claim every week. But if something real happens, you want to be able to at least have that kind of money there. Test question. When does your personal liability coverage, oh, it didn't come up. What is going on here? Well, I guess I gave that one away, didn't I? The answer is 3. What does your personal liability coverage protect against insurances occurring on your property? Well, if it happens to someone else. Oddly enough, your personal liability does not cover you. It covers other parties that come to your house and get hurt. It's always kind of a weird one for me, but it does happen that way. I don't know why it happened. Catch up. There we go. Liability and medical payments. Liability is the bodily injury or loss to property. Damages things like, again, someone walks across your yard, steps on your rake. Yeah, the most common one that I see with the liability on the home is someone gets hurt. A lot of times it's someone's kid fell down stairs, ran into a wall, whatever, and that's when the liability pops up. The coverage includes damages for what the insurable is liable up to, the limit, which could be $300,000, $500,000, whatever the limit is, and providing a defense and negotiating a settlement. It doesn't include coverage for injuries. The injuries themselves go elsewhere for you or your household members, unfortunately. That's why we have medical insurance. Medical payments on the policy there provides medical expenses for bodily injury to other parties occurred on the premises up to a certain dollar amount, whatever that is. Most likely it's going to be $1,000 up to $5,000. And then liability coverage, of course, is when the insured is negligent, where medical payments coverage will pay up to a certain part, and then the liability then takes over after the fact. I think I'm trying. There we go. When should you consider an umbrella policy? In my opinion, everyone should have an umbrella policy. That's kind of funny. A question just popped up saying, please talk about umbrella coverage. Umbrella coverage is a separate policy that goes $1 million increments. It starts at $1 million, goes up from there, where if anyone gets hurt and they come after you in any way, shape, or form, pretty much, you have the umbrella policy over and above your liability limits of your vehicles, of your home. A very common one is someone's driving on the road, they stop short, person behind them hits them, you're the person in the back, you hurt the person in the car in front of you because they saw a deer, whatever, they stopped short. When something like that happens, one of four things happens. Everyone's okay, a temporary disability, a permanent disability, or unfortunately someone passes away in the nasty ones. 3 out of 4 of these things can cause someone to come after you in a lawsuit because they can't work like they used to or they can't work at all. When that happens, an umbrella steps in. Umbrellas, again, they start at $1 million and they go up from there, and they're over and above the coverage that you have with your vehicle or with your home. So the liability portion of your home, $300,000. With the umbrella, you're at 1.3. Depending on your company, you can be at $100,000, $300,000 on your auto. Most are at $250,000, $500,000 in order to qualify to get an umbrella. Let's see here. Question just came up. Approximately how much does an umbrella cost? Honestly, they are all over the board. It depends on what you have. Because it'll cover things motorcycle related, four-wheeler, boats, cars. You could have 12 cars. You could have 2 houses and a cabin and this and that. That's a great question. And my honest opinion with umbrellas is everyone should have an umbrella. There's no downside to having an umbrella other than you have a lot of insurance. And I'd rather have a lot and not need it than to need it and not have any insurance. There's a question just popped up. What assets include jewelry? Good question. So actually things with jewelry, we'll get there in just a second here, but what it really is you want to schedule those items in your homeowners so that if something does happen to it, you don't have any deductible whatsoever, you just get it replaced. Again, scheduling that property. Other policies or other companies do have policies where it's a separate policy. Good rule of thumb on that. Okay, good rule of thumb on that is for every $1,000 you have, it's about $10 a year. So I'm going to keep cruising here so we can get through this really quickly, and then we'll answer questions again at the end. All right. So some additional coverage you have with your homeowners is scheduled personal property. It's kind of what we were talking about with jewelry. You can also do that with other things like collections of things or guns or something like that if you have a lot. Identity theft protection, home computer endorsement, water backup. Water backup is a big one, especially in Minnesota. It's water backup coverage, also known as backup of sewer or sump pump overflow for direct physical loss because water backs up through the sewer pipes where basically you flush the toilet and it doesn't go the right way. That's when you definitely want this coverage. Some discounts through Liberty Mutual, very similar to what you saw before in the auto. Things like multiple policy discount. I did receive that question. We'll go over that in just a second because that's a great question. Multiple policy discount, newly purchased home. That's a great one. With Liberty Mutual specifically, newly purchased and newly built homes are absolutely amazing on price. So let's see here. Exclusive group savings, which is the 10% because of the University of Minnesota. Early shopper discount, protected devices. Early shopper is you shop your policy early because something happened, you don't like what you saw, whatever the reason. Protective devices, of course, pretty standard. Smoke alarms, deadbolts, fire extinguisher, burglar alarm, things like that. And again, benefits of Liberty Mutual, you'll have a local licensed sales agent. That's me. I'm here in Minnesota. After-hour policy services, emergency home repair, that one I love. Just like the auto, we have the one for the home where we guarantee the work, and it's 24-hour, 365. That's people that we trust that will have come out there and take care of you, which is phenomenal. And I've met these guys, and they're pretty darn great. They really are. I know that sounds cliche and weird, but they really are great people. Personal property replacement. Well, of course, all of our stuff means a lot to us. You want to make sure that, just like I was talking about before with replacement cost versus actual cash value, that the replacement of your personal property is what you bought, not what it's worth today. Real quick, we'll go through the fact that we have some pretty cool #1 in the industry apps. I did see that question, so I'll go over that in just a second. The Liberty Mutual Home Gallery app with Liberty Mutual is kind of like what I was talking about before, is you can go through and catalog your room and your stuff. And it's a free app that we have. And really, you can assign a price to it, a date. Maybe you bought a couch, you just take a quick photo of it, you throw it in your gallery. This is how much it costs at this date, done. The one I like is our Liberty Mutual app. That's this one here where you can see everything. You can manage your policies, make your payments on your phone. You can see your ID cards. You can get a quote. I mean, there's literally anything. Track a claim, make a claim. Personally, I really like the claim aspect of this because it's really quick, it's seamless, and you got people calling you right away. It's very, very cool. And you can do a few other things. One thing I will say is always print your ID cards. You don't want to have to hand a police officer your phone because they will have to take that back with them. Let's see here. So if you have any questions, yeah, something happened with the, just cancel that. If you have any questions or want to get in touch with me, apparently everything kind of went a little goofy here, so I'll just tell you my name again, Joseph Peterson. Best way to get in contact with me is my phone number at 763-543-4344. Are we getting the screen up here? We're going to try to get the screen up here so you guys can see it. But again, 763-543-4344. Ask for Joe Peterson. Another way to get a hold of me is through email. If someone has questions that I can't answer yet, joseph.peterson@libertymutual.com. josep.peterson, Peterson, @libertymutual.com. So try to wrap up the questions here. Is there any way to know if you make a claim how much your premium will go up? Kind of, not really, because a lot of different things can happen between that time and the renewal. If you have, depending on the claim too, if it's a water claim but it wasn't your fault, it was an ice dam, your policy's not going anywhere. If you had a fire, you know your policy is going to go up. Each company has their own percentages and things like that. There's no perfect way, there's no perfect percentage number that I can tell someone because there's so many different things that go in with making your rate. And if your homeowner is escrowed, what steps you need to take to change companies, policies, doesn't matter. Oh, okay, so no, if you have a good, we're running low on time here, but with the escrow question, it's extremely simple. The only way that you have to do is let the new agent take care of you. They normally will take care of all the escrow changes, and it does not matter at all what time frame that is. So that's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much. I know we're out of time here, but
Joe, thank
Again, if
you
there's
so
any,
much. Yeah, and if you want to repeat your email address too, I'm sorry about that slide.
no, that's okay. So my email address is Joseph, Joseph, .Peterson, Peterson, @libertymutual.com.
Wonderful. Well, thanks again, Joe, for joining us today. What a great presentation.
Thank you.
All right, so we are just going to wrap it up here. We have a couple upcoming webinars. We have one on April 6th, Negotiating Your Starting Salary, and then again on April 21st on Effective Communication Styles. So you can sign up for these two upcoming webinars at minnesotaalumni.org/alumni webinar series. And if you're on social media, be sure to connect with the University of Minnesota Alumni Association on Twitter, LinkedIn, or visit our home webpage to see all of our different channels. In closing, members of the University of Minnesota Alumni Association make new initiatives like this webinar series possible. Thank you. Because of our members, we can enrich the lives of alumni, support student success, and make a better University of Minnesota. Become a member today at minnesotalumni.org/join. This is the conclusion of today's webinar. Thank you again for joining us and being an active member of the worldwide community of the University of Minnesota alumni and friends. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.